So every time that one of her minions, and by minions I mean the girls that, you know, send money to the chat in order to ask questions, ask Shira, where can I meet a provider, her answer always is get dressed up, put on some makeup, and go to the rich side of town. I guess she mean the African side of town, and that must have been good advice 25 years ago, but I don't think that that is the most efficient way to date in 2026. I think that that really speaks for the fact that Shira hasn't dated in 25 years, because, you know, she's been married to James, may he so rest in peace, and it shows. Okay, because in 2026, why would you get dressed up, go to the rich side of town? You would have to spend money in order to get there, and once you get there, you have to spend even more money. Like, you have to go into a hotel lobby, a coffee shop, a restaurant. You'll have to buy an appetizer, 1 or 2 glasses of wine. So you'll probably spend at least $75 in the hope, okay, only the hope of meeting somebody. You could do that over and over and over and over again and not meet anyone. I have seen girls write this in her chat. I've been out a lot, like 100 times, and I haven't met anybody yet. And her answer is always the same: just keep going, eventually you'll meet somebody. But doing that only 10 times, you guys, it's gonna cost you $750. So in my opinion, that is not the most efficient way to look for a provider, when you can download Tinder or Hinge, swipe, and then when you are leaving your home, you are actually going out on a date. Okay, like, you could even ask your date to provide a transportation mean, a Uber for you, so that way you don't have to spend any money at all, and then you have a potential provider in your hand instead of going out in the middle of the day and having to answer questions. By the way, you know, something that I find people don't talk about often enough is how, if you are in a coffee shop in a neighborhood you don't live in at 11:30 a.m., people are going to ask questions. I live in an African neighborhood. There are like 3 coffee shops here, and I remember when I first moved here, I went to one of the coffee shops and people would ask me questions about what I'm doing there, and, you know, and they didn't even seem to believe my answers. Like, when I told them that I live around here, it's only when they started seeing me in the supermarket regularly that they ended up, you know, chilling out and, you know, really knowing and believing that I live around here. So I hope you have an airtight story if you are going to be in a random coffee shop in a neighborhood you don't live in at 11:30, because as somebody who lived in those type of neighborhoods, I can tell you it's always the same type of people in those coffee shops. Like, they're like third places. Okay, it's always the same crowd, it's always the same people. So you are going to stick out like a sore thumb when you show up there, okay? And people are going to want to know what you're doing there, why you're here. So I suggest you Google doctor's office, you know, in that neighborhood, so that you can tell them you just visited the dentist or the gynecologist or whichever type doctor, you know, is in close to that coffee shop. And don't be too dressed up as well, okay? Because if you're super dressed up, nobody is gonna believe you just coming from the doctors. And also, it's just not what people do, okay? People who live in a neighborhood don't get super dressed up in order to go to the coffee shop close to their house. Like, so yeah, don't be too dressed up, contrary to what Shira says. But yeah, I don't think it's the most efficient way to date. I think that there are a lot of providers online. You know, I don't understand where these ideas that men online are any different from other men came from, because it doesn't even make sense. Like, men on Tinder are the same men who are at your gym, who you meet at your supermarket. Like, literally, I've met men at my gym and then saw them on Tinder. These are the exact same people. Yes, sometimes the behavior does differ based on whether the men are approaching you online or offline or in real life, but I think that that is a positive. I think that online men are a lot more forward, which I personally think is a good thing. Like, if they want one thing and one thing only, they're gonna make it clear early on, whereas in real life I find that men are not that forward, so they tend to waste your time a lot more. Like, men online will very quickly make an actual intent, or if that's what they want, you know, they'll ask you to come over, or they will just say things that will let you know that they want the honeypot, they want that thing and that thing only, right? Whereas again, offline, men can pretend as if they wanted a relationship when they want the same thing as the guy online. So, you know, you're more likely to fall for it, give them what they want, and never hear from them ever again. You know, this is why women complain about men ghosting all the time. And that is because I find that offline men tend to mask a lot better than online. So I personally like online, you know, because men who, again, who just want to get to bed with you quickly will make that known quickly, and then that way you can filter them out. Okay, you can just unmatch them, block them, and move on. And you know, this whole thing reminded me of why I don't take advice from women who've been married or in long-term relationship for a very long time, so 10+ years. I personally do not take any advice from anybody who's been married or in a long-term relationship for 10-15 years, because they are in a maintaining mode. Okay, if you've been married for 15 years, the most important thing to you is to stay married. Okay, you mixed in finances with this man, y'all got kids, like, you want to stay with this man above all else. Whereas I am, as a single woman, I'm trying to get in a relationship. Okay, so we don't have the same goal. Like, married women and women in long-term relationship, in my experience, will tolerate a lot of bull crap. You know, they will let a lot of things slide because, again, they just want to stay in the relationship. So I don't think that as somebody who is trying to get in a relationship, you should take advice from them, because they are going to encourage you to ignore red flags. So I personally don't think that, you know, as a single person, you should take at least dating advice from women who've been married or in a long-term relationship for 10+ years. You can take financial advice from them, but not marital advice, because they don't know anything about the dating pool, right? Like, if you haven't dated in 15 years, like, you're not versed in the current dating pool, which is a whole different ball game than what it was 15 years ago, right? Like, I'm sure today's dating climate is a lot different from 25 years ago, which is when Shira used to go out there and date. So her advice when it comes to dating, in my opinion, is a little bit outdated. Like, I find that, you know, we need to chew the meat and spit the bone. Like, some of the stuff she talks about when it comes to self-esteem and self-confidence and loving yourself and men having to provide, I think some of the advice is solid, but, you know, there is a little bit or a lot of bit of texturism mixed in there, and, you know, a lot of other stuff that, in my opinion, is outdated. And she always tends to take her opinion for fact. That is something that I've noticed about her. Like, she doesn't understand that her opinions are not facts. Like, opinions are not factual, and I know that sometimes they feel like facts, you guys. I know some of my opinions be feeling like facts to me too, but it's so important to remember that your personal experience and opinions are no actual factual facts. Like, they're not Fendi facts. Okay, so you can't just randomly push them as facts. You know, like I said, the texturism with the hairstyle and stuff, I haven't found that to be true at all. I personally can wear any type of hairstyle and pull man. Okay, like, she talked about big curly hair being distracting and taking away from your beauty. I don't think that this unit is taking away from my beauty at all. Okay, I get a lot of attention from men, women, like compliments. Okay, a lot of compliments from women wearing this unit. Slick backs as well. You know, she discouraged black women who have natural hair from wearing their natural hair out, but I never get as much attention as when I wear my 4C hair in a bun. Okay, that's when I get the most attention for whatever reason. I don't know why, but a slick back bun will get me the most attention. Okay, maybe because face cut little, I don't know, but that is when I will get the most attention. Okay, so I find that when it comes to content creators online, this applies to me as much as it applies to her, as much as it applies to anybody. Just take the meat and chew the bone. Take what works for you, what you can apply in your own personal life, and leave the rest. Like, you don't have to do exactly what content creators say. Like, if it doesn't apply to your own life, if it's not applicable for your situation, that let it go. You know, at the end of the day, it's important you remember that it's not going to work out exactly like that for you, because you are not the content creator. Okay, except if you are 5'11", except if you have the exact same ADHD brain that I have, my advice is not going to work exactly the way it does for me for you. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind when taking advice from content creators. Remember, you know, you're not you know your life situation, so make sure you tailor the advice to pass to your personal life. And in my personal opinion and what I've seen, there are lots of providers online, on Tinder, on Hinge. Hell, women have met providers off of Bumbles. Okay, like, I have a friend who met this guy and he's providing for her a life most women will never live, and she met him on Bumble. Okay, Bumble, out of all places, Bumble, which is a place where women approach men or write them first, and yeah, and still she found an amazing provider there. And trust me, He's providing for her a life that doesn't require for her to be live for 9 hours without taking a bathroom break. Okay, like we are talking yacht, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, first and business class tickets, like not a middle class average life. So there are providers everywhere. A man that want to provide for you will provide for you, whether you meet him online, whether you meet him offline. It don't matter, okay? If he likes you, if he's a provider at his core, if he wants to provide for you, he will do so no matter where you meet him. Yeah, that would just be irrelevant. So that is my personal opinion on, you know, the whole get dressed up, put on some makeup, and go to the rich side of town shebang. And it's not the only thing I disagree with Shira on. As a matter of fact, if you like this video, I'm going to upload another video where I'm going to tell you 6 things that I personally disagree with Shira 7 on, as somebody who have had success with the type of stuff that she's talking about. So let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see that video. Also let me know, you know, if you think that you necessarily have to meet a man in real life for him to provide for you, because I know that a lot of women have met their providers online. So let me know in the comment section down below, where did you meet yours? If you have one, do not forget to subscribe to my channel as well, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye guys, thanks for watching. Mwah.